Yes, we're going through some stormy weather. Yes, but we still together. Cause I'm so real fine with my life on the side. Cause we'll
There we
be
go, right
just
there.
fine
Extra hype, extra, extra hype.
if we take our time. Let the sun shine, let it shine. We'll be just fine.
Okay, there we go. You should be able to hear me now, extra hype.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Extra hype in the building. Got you loud and clear. Got you loud and clear. It's Friday, my friend. Stick around. Stick around. We got some good stuff going down just for you this evening, because that's what we do. Stick around and invite. It's going to be out of sight tonight. If we take our time, let the sun shine, this will be just fine. All the old stuff will be just fine. If we take our time, let the sun shine, this will be just fine. Well, my friends, it's podcast time again. Once again, we are here on a Friday. It's your day. It's our day. We're glad that you decided to spend it with us. Spend a little time on our podcast, would ya? Yes, yes, yes. We're glad for that. And before we get started, you know it's always customary that we shout out some local businesses that show love and support to this podcast. So we have Konos Restaurant, 16 Clinton Street, right here, Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. Mouth-watering cuisine, some of the finest taste that you have ever seen. And guess what? Let them know that you heard about them on the podcast when you go there. All right. They'll most certainly recognize and make sure that you have the time of your life. That's Konos Restaurant, 16 Clinton Street. In the not-too-distant future, we're going to go ahead and have a meet and greet there. Hope you can catch us. That's right. We'll let you know all the details when that is all worked out. We've also got the Fruit House at 764 Broad Street, Newark, New Jersey as well. Thank you. Once again, 764 Broad Street, the Fruit House, Newark, New Jersey. Smoothies, fresh squeezed juices, herbs, spices, vegetables, fruits, sea moss, and a whole lot of other things in store. Check them out when you get the notion, when you're over here and you're in motion in Brick City. And Halsey News at 2 Prudential Drive, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Shahida and Sadiqa will be definitely glad to meet and greet you in the morning, in the afternoon, and maybe on your way home or to work, whichever one you do in the evening. But make sure you stop by, say hello to them, tell them that you heard about them on the podcast as well, my friends. And once again, we thank you for stopping here with us today. We've also got just a couple of websites we want you to support and visit. We got liquidmana.com, Oxygen Rich O2. That's right, your water, your H2O. Oxygen Rich. I'm telling you, you got to try it out. It's got a whole lot of good qualities. It makes you feel really, really on top of the world. Liquidmana.com. That is 2 M's, MANNA. Also, we've got ProLogic Strategies. That's right. We got Flofokuz. That's his website, PrologicStrategies.com. Check him out as you see more and more developing on his website. And once again, I got an announcement to make once we finish with our website shout outs. We've also got networkingforsuccess.info/Grooveology-360. That's right. That's the thank you page that we have set up for you guys. That's right, just for coming. You and your guest get to go over to that site and, hey, get some incentives, get some thank you things that we have just for you for coming on to the podcast because we think about you and we will be updating that page as well. We're going to have more things coming up for you very soon, so stick around for that. And last but not least, we got bearcatbody.com, B-A-R-E, catbody.com. Lovely Leslie, right? She's got a lot of products. One I am particularly fond of is the ones for eyesight. Also, body butters for your entire body from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet and everything in between with dental care. That's right. And she also has fragrances that you can use. That's right. If you want an alternative to some deodorants and you want something more natural, check out her website at bearcatbody.com. And now for our quick announcement here. We made an announcement that last week you could sign up at prologicstrategies.com for the bonus points of 1,000 for signing up and another 500 for the 2 special phrases if you were to chat them after you create your account. And you've also got 500 last week for being on the call when those 2 phrases were spoken. So everybody who's on the call last week, you have 500 just for being present and up front here with us. Also, I wanted to say those of you who are challenged visually and are having some slight difficulties or delays in completing your sign up, do not worry about that, okay? You're going to still receive the points from prologicstrategies.com for the sign up as well as for the phrases, the 2 phrases. I think they were important. And I guess you all know the other one. Okay. Little brain teaser there, little brain teaser. But don't worry about it. You will receive the points just when you are able to sign up. If you need someone to help you with that, they can help you with that. And then guess what? If they decide to sign up as well and create an account, guess what? They're eligible for each and every bonus that we are going to be providing via our podcast, our websites, and even on my blog site. There are going to be some things coming very shortly, so I will have that link for you all as well. And that is that announcement regarding that. So if you're having some technical difficulties, some challenges with completing the sign up, don't worry, take your time. Once you sign up, your account will be there and your bonus points will appear. Not to worry. All right, everybody, here's what we're going to do tonight, okay? Tonight, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Okay, there we go, everybody. We are unmuting the lines. Yes. And I want to say hello to each and everybody on the line tonight. Hello, how you doing? All right, glad you could make it with us. And tonight is a recap and a review. You know, every now and then we do these things, a recap and a review just for you and for me, to keep us sharp, to keep us on the toes, and to make sure that we've gotten some good information and we also are retaining what we are discussing. And once again, don't forget, this is our pretty much planning board right here. If you all review this, I'm quite sure that you may remember in past conversations that we have referred to this particular podcast time as our planning board, where you all have a chair at the table and all of your input is welcome and is valuable as we plan our moves forward. and how we will be conducting business as we move forward. So that starts our review. Okay. Now, here's how this is going to work. With that being said, with that review, for everybody that's on the line right now, that review gives you 100 points. You're here, by default, you just got 100 more points. So make sure you make a note of that, okay? And also reach out to the host, let us know that you are on the line. Most of you know how to reach out. Those of you who don't, before the podcast is over, or at any time, please ask the question so you can know how to reach out so that you can also receive those points towards our next bonus giveaway, which will be in October. All right? Next month, coming up real soon. All right, everybody. So, for everybody, once again, that's on the line for that review was, this is our planning board. We have said that on podcasts in the past. This is our planning board. This is where we come, we discuss things, we discuss issues, and we make our plans to move forward. We come with solutions. We come to resolve a problem. So this is our planning board. This starts our review. With that, you get 100 points by default. Now, moving forward today as we review, once we get some answers that have come out before and we're all on the same page, points will be awarded. Now, the first one was a freebie, a gimme by me. But all of the rest will be on everybody on the line. And when you give the correct response or the correct answer that we're looking for regarding a question that may be asked, points will be awarded. Okay? They may be awarded on an individual basis or they may be awarded on a group basis, but you will hear it said either individual or group. Okay? So, with that being said, everybody, let's go into our review. All right? Now, most of us who have been on our podcast here, you may already realize how we come with topics. We come with discussions. And those discussions come with some type of information for everybody to benefit from. Now, a little while ago, there was information regarding postal vehicles. As a matter of fact, we just brought that back up last week. Something unique and distinctly different about postal vehicles. Now, for a group bonus of 200 points, and this is going for the group now, everybody who's on the line, can someone other than the people who had the answer correct last week tell us what is distinctly different and noticeable when you look at a postal truck?
Greetings. This is Joffrey. Hello, Marcus.
Hey, brother Joffrey, how are you?
Well, I wasn't on last week because I was at my class reunion, so my meet and greet. So I missed last week, but I was planning to remind you that Monday's words were important and appreciate. Important and appreciate. And having worked for the Postal Service, they said the steering wheel is on the right side of the vehicle.
Yes. That is distinctly different and unique, yes, but there is something else that is noticeable and distinctly different about postal trucks. Other than the steering wheel and other than the sliding doors that we see on the Pector's
The
bread
label.
truck,
The label.
the label,
Yes.
that is true. You mean the USPS label?
Correct.
Okay, yes, that is true. But there is something, okay, let me put it this way. There is something that a postal truck does not carry that other vehicles do.
What, a spare tire?
No.
That's too funny. Hmm.
No.
I mean, I'm looking at it in my mind.
I'm trying.
Hmm?
I'm trying to. Besides the box.
Their plates.
There you go. There you go.
Ding, ding, ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Okay, Chris.
Hello, everyone.
Read.
Hey,
Hi there, guys. Can I chime in there? Because I was waiting for the answer. I want to throw a little bit of insight in there because it might have been a clue to the answer if we said in an official capacity. Because remember, guys, we're here. We talk a lot about civics and people in official capacities. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot of nuances to things like whether or not there is a certain specific credential necessary to everyone else, but then all of a sudden here comes a postal man driving on the wrong side of the road, sometimes even, I don't know, boom, putting the mail into your box and driving down these dirt roads, all kinds of magnificent stuff that we just have no idea until we learn about what civics is all about, till we learn how meets and bounds are created, till we know how, these municipalities kind of, I want to say, fractal themselves out. So it's just a lovely way to lean you guys closer to the points of when we ask these ask these questions. Another one, if you want to bring up the Isley brothers thing, you know, that is again the gentlemen themselves might have been from Ohio, but their establishment in an official capacity, credentially, right, guys, it's from, uh, where was it again? Anybody know the answer? I won't give it away.
Motown, Detroit.
Not Motel. No,
Okay.
not Detroit.
Teaneck, New Jersey.
Ding, 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 ding. Inglewood, yes, T-Neck was their record label, but yes, yes, that is correct. Yes, indeed.
In summation, that's basically the whole purpose of what we bring you guys here to talk about. Orient you mentally to see that we all have these hats, if you will, that we wear. That under certain circumstances we have to operate under different dynamics. So, this is just a fun way to get our minds wrapped around these many faculties that we have as infinite contractors. I'll just land my little tangent plane right there.
All righty. And everybody, just so that you know, because we had an extra question, we're giving out an extra bonus to everybody on the line. So everybody count yourself for those two questions as receiving a total of 500 bonus points towards our next Flip Side Friday bonus giveaway. Okay, so totally right now, everybody on this line has a total of 600 bonus points if you want to jot them down. And that will make you eligible, once again, for our next bonus giveaway next month. All right? It's definitely going to be something great, and I'm quite sure that everybody's going to like it. So please keep score. Everybody right now, you have 600 total for the group. Everybody here got 600. All right. Now, another thing that we want to review, and I wanted to kind of make this substantial but not drawn out, because I want us to get this in chunks, like small bite-sized pieces. Sometimes I think it's a lot better to eat a small chunk of something rather than try to eat a large portion all at once. I think the small chunks kind of work better for us. So, with that being said, let's go back to the postal system for a moment. And let's go back to this answer, if anybody can know it. And this one will be for another 500 points to everybody on the line in the group. Okay? Can anybody articulate why a postal truck does not have to carry license plates? Okay.
Again, this is Joffrey, and I missed last week, as I said. But the vehicle in which the mail is housed, okay, as they travel along the route, I don't think it's a motor vehicle. It's not considered a motor vehicle. And so therefore, it doesn't require the necessary or the commanded registration and licensing.
And that, my friend, is correct. Yes. Yes, indeed. You are absolutely correct. A postal truck is not a motor vehicle. It's not. So therefore, that is one of the key reasons why a postal truck doesn't have to be registered with motor vehicles. It doesn't need to carry any license plates for any state. It doesn't need to have any inspection stickers from motor vehicles to operate on the road. And it does not need to be weighed at any weigh station at all, even though it is carrying what they consider to be cargo. Okay? So postal trucks seem to be exempt from all of those requirements because it is not a motor vehicle. Now, that's 500 extra points for everybody, okay? So now, everybody, you're up to 1,100. We're going to see if we can get everybody to 2,500 today. So, with that being said, can anybody tell what jurisdiction a postal truck operates in? Now, I know that's a bit of a hard one, but we did go through it a time or two before. And like I said, this is just a review, something to keep our minds sharp, keep our minds thinking. But can anybody tell us what jurisdiction a postal truck operates in? Uses apparently the same streets that every other vehicle uses, but what jurisdiction or what authorization does a postal truck have? What jurisdiction is it in? All right. Are we stumped on that one? I think we might be stumped on that one. Okay. Well,
it's federal.
Okay.
It's federal, and it supersedes all other jurisdictions that are established.
Okay. Look at that. Look at here. All right. So, yes, a postal truck operates in federal jurisdiction, which does supersede all others because the federal happened to be first. However, here's another tidbit. The post office was established before the three branches of government were. Did everybody know that? Was everybody aware of that?
Benjamin Franklin was the first postmaster, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And the actual post, but not the post office, but the first post, which was the post office department, was established where? Who can tell me? Okay, I'll give you a choice. Constitution or Articles of Confederation? And we'll give out 500 points for that one too for everybody on the line. We get it right.
Man, that's a tough article to go by. That's a tough article to go by.
But that is correct. Articles of Confederation established the first post. Because under the League of Nations, which is also the Law of Nations, which is the family of nations, one of the criteria that a place must have in order to be considered a nation or a country is you must have a post. That is one of the considerations. You must have a post office. You also must have a national language. You also must have populace. And you must have a currency. Those are some of the key points. Not all of them, but some of the key points for being considered a nation or a nation that is being formed or developed. So we've got an extra 500 points. We're going to see if we can get up to 2,500. I think we can do it because right about now we're up to 1,600. Okay, everybody? So we got about 1,600 points in everybody's bank that's on this line towards our next giveaway, which is next month. We're just going over review here. Now, there's also one other thing about the post office that we want to just review again. And we want to just bring this back up. Now, as we know, the postal trucks are in the federal jurisdiction, but they don't carry any plates such as license plates at all. They don't carry any registration for motor vehicle, any requirements for motor vehicle, or from the Department of Transportation either. They supersede all of that. That is true. So, what actually? Now, this is kind of tricky here, but we went over it once, I believe once. What is it that protects the post office and its assets, its holdings, against certain suits, certain claims, and gives the post office and its assets a certain type of immunity? What is the entity that protects the post office and its assets?
I don't know. I want to shoot in the wind and just say the federal government.
No, no, no. It's an entity.
U.S. Marshal.
Well, in terms of enforcement, but when it comes to actually claims against them or their assets, in other words, their assets cannot be seized. There's a certain entity that protects that, those assets from being seized. We talked about this before here.
Mm.
Something that everybody here can form if they would like to. It protects assets.
What, a trust?
Thank you very much.
They can't fix it already, Pop? Oh, yeah.
What's that? What they fix?
A trust. The post office and its assets are held in a certain type of trust that protect those assets from being seized, from claims against those assets. So, for that answer, okay, we had 1,600 points in everybody's bank on the line. Now, everybody, you have 2,000. We're about to get up to 2,500 very, very soon. Now, the reason we're bringing this up about the post office is because the post office is an example of something that we talked about when you're able to kind of go in and out of two separate places. It's kind of like you can be in the public and as a service to the public, but you still carry your privacy or your covering with you while you're in or dealing in the public or with the public, I should say. That is something that the post office carries with it all the time. All the time. That's why its vehicles can have the steering wheel wherever it wants to. If they wanted to put the steering wheel in the middle of the chassis, they could if they wanted to. If they wanted to have windshield wipers that were on the sides of the window and not at the top or at the bottom, wiping, from north to south, if they wanted them east to west, they could do that too. Whatever they wanted to do with those trucks, as long as those trucks were able to be, driven and not a danger or a hazard on the road to anybody else or the person using them for that purpose, they could do anything with their property that they wanted to, because they control their property as their own assets, because all postal vehicles belong to a fleet, which is under the post office itself. However, motor vehicles also has a fleet. And guess whose cars make up this motor vehicle fleet? Now, this one is going to give us that 500 points to get everybody here to 2,500. What cars make up motor vehicles fleet?
When you say motor vehicles, are you talking about DMV?
Yes, DMV.
Well, we all register our vehicles with DMV, and so I would have to say it's our cars.
There you go. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. 500 points for everybody. Mr. Joffrey, congratulations, and thank you. Congratulations to everybody. We've made our target of 2,500 points for everybody on the line right now. You got it in your bank. That is all for you, and that goes towards our next Flipside Friday next month. You all have bonus points that you can use toward that bonus prize if you would like. Okay? So yes, Mr. Joffrey, the answer is correct. Whenever somebody registers their vehicle with motor vehicles, meaning they take the title there, they take other documents, they hand it over to motor vehicles and people at the counter. People at the counter do whatever they do, and then they give back a receipt and they give other documentation to say this vehicle is now registered. That vehicle now comes under the authority and control of DMV. The person who has registered this vehicle is now an operator. And they are operating a vehicle that has just been registered to the Motor Vehicle Commission. And Motor Vehicles makes the rules for all of its registered vehicles. Kind of weird, ain't it? When you spend money to go buy something and they compel you to register it, and you register it because you don't want it to get taken for being unregistered, and then it becomes an asset of an agency that had no interest in buying or spending on that vehicle at all. But they got control of it because we've been taught that this was the only game in town, but it's not true. Because just like the post office does, their vehicles, their assets are held in trust. So each and every postal vehicle is registered to the post office. That's right. It's registered and it's held as an asset in a postal trust. That is a recognition of private property. And all of the rights that go with private property go to all post office assets. Private property cannot be taken for public use without just compensation being given. And the seizure of anybody's property, meaning if a tow truck comes and takes your vehicle because, oh, it's unregistered. Oh, there's no insurance. Oh, you got parking tickets that are unpaid. So we're going to boot it so it can't move. And if you don't pay it before the tow truck gets here, the tow truck is going to take it and impound it. Or I should say take it to the impound yard where it's going to be impounded. Okay. Why? Because that car, that automobile, has been registered to motor vehicles, and now motor vehicles makes the rules for its newfound property that was abandoned by somebody else. That's right. Registering the vehicle to it carries the principle of being abandoned, but it's not the abandonment that is the problem. It's the who is that asset abandoned to? Who got it last? Well, if the Motor Vehicle Commission got it last, then they're going to make the rules. They're going to cost whatever to register it, to make sure that the operator has a license because it's a label given out by motor vehicles, become an operator under their rules, and then that it is inspected, it's weighed, and that everything is correct. And if everything is not correct, they got penalties and fees and fines to assess for that thing too that you have already purchased out of your pocket. Ain't that something? And it's the same game played all the time. When people buy property, when they buy buildings, whether they be commercial buildings or residential. And see, residential, let's just say something about that. Let's not use that. Let's use the word instead, domicile, where you inhabit, rather than residential, where you live. Residential does not mean what we think it means. Residential means temporary, not permanent, not purposing to stay anywhere for a long time. Basically, having somewhere else to go, but temporarily holding up here for a time. That's the meaning of the word residential. So when they call someone a resident, what they're saying is that you have no fixed place here. You are not planted here. You don't have an interest in being here, so you're only going to be here temporarily. And you can pick up, you can leave at any time, or we can come get you at any time. Because you're not fixed, you're not permanent. So we can use the word instead for these purposes and for this conversation, domiciled, somewhere that you inhabit. You're in the action of habitation. This is your habitat. This is where you are. This is where you are known to be. This is where people know you from. This is your habitat that you are actually in, within, permanently, until you decide to make it known that you will go somewhere else, but you are firmly planted. Residences carry addresses. Habitats carry real world locations. That's the difference. There's two sides to this coin on everything. So that is another review we have here. Now, the last and final review that I'm going to bring up before we'll open up the floor for, just talk or whatever, is this. We have to realize that there have been some, how can I say, there have been some dealings that have been less than revealing. In other words, there have been some backdoor deals, things that have been done under the cover of darkness, so to speak, things that were not supposed to be revealed to everybody else who would have an interest in it. And it was not a very fast-paced event. It was insidiously slow. Kind of like the old Heinz ketchup commercials where they took the bottle and they tilted it over and you just saw the ketchup slowly moving toward the neck of the bottle. And it hadn't even gotten to the opening in the top of the bottle because it was moving very slowly. Well, the plans moving forward that have created these mirror images of reality that we're dealing with was put together and executed in a very like manner as you saw, as we've seen in those Heinz ketchup commercials from back in the day. That ketchup bread so slow, you can sit up there and you can put your burger under it, walk away for about another 15 minutes or so like that, and that ketchup still might not be coming out of that bottle yet because it's very slow. Slow enough that you really don't notice it. Even if you're looking at it, you get tired of looking at it because it's moving so slow. You say, this is not doing anything, but it's inching along. Because by next week, it will have moved a foot. And that may not be a lot, and that's true. But it has done that, and it's moving that way on purpose so that it doesn't draw attention. But it causes a lot of things to change, to become different, but very slowly. And before we know it, everything that we know has been turned upside down on its head. Now, let me parallel this with some things that we may remember. Some of us may remember when we would go to doctors when we were younger, I'll just say that, and you had one doctor that knew you and your family, because chances are everybody went to that doctor. And you would go to that doctor, and whatever was wrong with you, that doctor would examine you and knew everything about the body and how it worked, and would tell you, okay, this is what I see, this is what the problem is, this is what I'm going to prescribe for you, and lo and behold, it made everything better. The one thing that did not happen was that doctor did not always have to refer you to another specialist. Didn't have to do that because that doctor knew about the body and had an understanding of anatomy. That way, that doctor could diagnose and prescribe what would make your body react positively and give it enough of what it needed in order to get you back to optimal health. And you didn't hear a whole lot about any side effects. Didn't hear it. Today, it's much different. If you don't feel well and you go to your general doctor, primary doctor they call them nowadays, that primary more than likely is going to see you and then refer you to someone else. And when you go to that somebody else, the only thing that they're going to deal with is the area of your body that's being affected, but they are not trained in anatomy to actually connect one thing to another. So they only treat what they specialize in, but if there's a connection to something else that could be causing it, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be sure about it. And one thing is for sure, they are going to refer you to another specialist. So instead of everybody having a meeting of the minds to understand what the problem is and how to deal with it, it's all split up and segmented and categorized into different little boxes. That way, this one doesn't communicate with this one, which doesn't communicate with that one, and doesn't communicate to the first one. So we don't get the same results that we had when we were in our prime years. Doesn't happen. Things happen very slowly with this type of planning and end game results. There is no rush. This is an ongoing thing. And the reason it's so effective is because we have gotten our minds conditioned to be quick. You want everything done in 5 seconds like a microwave. It has to be fast. We're zooming and zipping, running and ripping, back and forth, here to there, missing a whole lot of things that are going on because our minds, along with our bodies, are split into so many different directions at one time. And we're trying to juggle so many different things that we can't spend any time noticing something that's moving slowly, insidiously, and reaching every single goal that it's been set to reach, and causing a shift and a ripple in everything that we have come to know. So, the reason we bring civics into these discussions and these conversations is because civics is the missing piece of the puzzle. See, one thing that I and many other people have noticed, Eric Garner should not be resting at this point. Trayvon Martin should not be resting at this point. Yusef Hawkins should not be resting at this point. George Floyd should not be resting at this point. And many others that preceded them, and especially many others in their timeline and further beyond, should not be resting at this point. But things have changed. And with the change came confusion and an unknowing of something that was familiar. It's like the whole thing changed, and it seemed like in a twinkle of an eye, but it was really very slow. While we were zipping, zooming, running, and ripping all over the place, stressed out, traumatized over some drama. More than likely that could have happened at some point with someone or some situation. These are events that have been designed and put in place to distract us. They call it misdirection. And one thing that they have that has definitely been done, is to keep people's eyes off of the things that empower them to be able to slam the brakes on this nonsense. Doesn't call for a protest. Nope. Does not call for gathering and blocking streets. No, doesn't call for that either. Doesn't call for any violence, any throwing of rocks or, other things that cause, unrest and uneasy. doesn't even call for that. Only thing it calls for is for the people to realize that their power is on public display and that they have a right to access it at any time because that is an asset that belongs to all of the people, each and every one. Because we, the people, are the ones who provide the checks and the balances. In other words, Eric Garner had his air blocked. He couldn't breathe. Someone took their nightstick and held it against this man's throat so that he couldn't get in the air. And you know the justification for doing that? He was bigger than me. He was bigger than you. So because he's bigger than you and you want to subdue him, you decide to take something and place it against this man's throat so that he cannot breathe while you're rocking back with all of your weight to put pressure on his airway so he can't breathe because he's bigger than you. There were people who were witnessing what was going on and frozen like deer in the headlights. Not because of what was technically happening at the time, but because they were not sure what they could do without risking themselves. So in their minds, they want to do something, but they're fearful that if they do take a step, there's going to be consequences. It's going to cost them. So everybody who was there for Eric Garner, for Yusef Hawkins, for Trayvon Martin, for George Floyd, all had the same thought. We're familiar with these people who are wearing these uniforms, but we're not familiar with the actions that they're taking. How do we stop them from doing this ever again? Well, first of all, I'm not telling anybody what to do. And I most certainly am not telling anybody to put yourself at risk. But think about it this way. If you're at a family function, you're at a picnic or a barbecue, and everybody in the family is having fun, and everybody's just not stressed, and there's all laughs and smiles, there's some card games going on, you got your uncles over here that's having their taste of drinks and all of that stuff, you got the kids running around, you know, playing volleyball, going through the sprinklers, getting wet, you know, cooling off. Everybody's fine. And the locals come up, get out of their car. Nobody called them. And they come over and they start trying to have a consensual conversation with one of the people there. And they don't say anything. They say, no, thank you. I don't have anything to say. And they go to turn to walk away. And those local yokel goofballs decide that they want to push that person from behind up top and take their foot and trip them until they fall to the ground and they fall on their back. Don't know if they hurt the person or not, but they don't care because they want to show their aggression and their dominance. Now, mind you, everybody at the family function here is having a good time, but we all see this happening. Is that family, in your opinion, going to stand there and watch as these people who don't belong there, weren't called to come there, are harassing, assaulting, and committing battery against somebody who has done nothing to bring this onto themselves? Are they going to sit there and allow this person to be put to harm, terror, and almost probably losing their life? Are they going to stand there and watch and say, what can we do? Or are they going to join together as a family and say, this ain't going to happen? And like I said, I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I'm just giving us this walk through civics so that we all understand that, number one, we're nobody's tables. We don't have people resting their drinks and their plates and their card table games on our backs as we bend over and kneel on all fours. No, 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 no. That's not us. As a matter of fact, those who are wearing the uniforms and in those offices, we are their supervisors. But we have not known this. Why? Number one, they made sure that the books that would tell us this were no longer available in the places where they could be viewed by everybody. At school. Kids go to school, they bring books home. You help them with their homework. You both get a chance to read something, and us being the ones who are learned and have seen this before are now able to share with the newly forming minds of our young ones what this means. So that when they go out here, they don't have any fear. They understand what to do. That was taken away. So out of sight, out of mind, you go outside and something like this happens, and it takes you by surprise and it takes you by shock, and you freeze like a deer in headlights because you aren't expecting this. These are the very same ones that you call when someone's broken into your house, broken into your car, stolen your car, there's a prowler in your backyard, somebody's threatening the life of your people that are in your home or your friends. They won't leave. All kinds of mess, nonsense. But they're the ones that are sitting here doing some of the most jacked up stuff. These people have a power complex. They think that a made-up position makes them higher than those that they try to step on and introduce to the bottom of their feet. This is the reason why we take us on a journey through civics. Because at the very least, we have to have a foundation to build on. This is not to replace anything. This is to establish something solid and firm that can support the positions that we're going to take as we continue to build. We've got to have something to stand on before we can expand outward and upward. Other than that, it's not going to work. because we don't have a firm foundation. And this is why we bring this topic and have been bringing it for the last several weeks, because with everything that's been happening and all the distractions and all of the occurrences and events that have been going on, we need something that we can refer to that gives us a solution so that we can regulate the nonsense, quiet down the noise, hold the actors accountable, and dole out the penalties for those who are responsible. And then move on to building upward and onward and outward. And that will be an example to the rest. Because once they know that people aren't playing anymore, and they didn't even have to come at them the way that they've been coming at us, they're going to know. And the first thing that they're going to think is, OMG, I think they found out. And what happens when everybody sees the example? Then everybody starts to give some act right. There are going to be those that are going to test the waters and test the boundary lines. They're going to do it. But when we know that there is something that has not been talked about, that has not been made known to us, there's been no mention of it at all, and everything that referred to it has been not destroyed, but conveniently tucked away somewhere else, that's when the whole classroom erupts. Everybody acts up. We remember grade school when our regular teacher was not there in the classroom and we got a substitute. We didn't do no work. All we did was cut up and act a fool because the one who we had respect for, who knew all of us, and I'm showing my age here, commanded respect. We wouldn't dare act up and cut up in that teacher's presence because they held authority and they would exercise that authority, and that would be an example to everybody else in the class. We have the same authority. We have the same tools to be able to do this. And the funny thing is, the tools are on paper. They're right there on paper. Last thing I'm going to bring out before we open up the floor for anybody who may want to speak. A lot of people that we know have ended up incarcerated. And a lot of people that we know have actually been not coerced, but led to give up their freedom in exchange for a lighter punishment. But here's the thing. It was never confirmed that punishment was going to be doled out because there were adjectives such as might, may, could, or maybe thrown into the mix to make people think or quote unquote believe without knowing that something was going to happen to them if they did not agree. But I will tell you this. Every single judgment, every single decree, every single writ of court, every order that is issued from a court must, now hear me good, must be under the seal of that court. And that seal must also have the signature of the clerk of that court. That actually authenticates and validates it and gives it its proper standing in law. In other words, it's not a fake, it's not silly, it carries weight, and you can validate and verify that, yes, it has gone through the process, that it has ended up with those particular things present on its face. If you think about a birth certificate, one that you get from Vital Records, when you get it, you notice in the bottom left or right corner how there's an authentic raised seal on it. And there is a signature along with it, validating and authenticating it and saying this is not a fake, this is the real thing. Why? Because those things appear on it. All of your papers through court process that complete some part of a process, and then finally a total completion where there's an opinion, a judgment, a decree, a decision, an order, must contain what the law requires it to maintain. A seal, not a stamp, an embossed raised seal, similar to that of a notary, and a signature of the clerk. In order for that whole process to actually be valid. Otherwise, that process can be tossed in the trash. It's called an abatement. 1 or 2 pages. And it basically is a document that someone fills out and says, hey, this thing ought to be thrown in the trash. In other words, the proper use of the words are, this should be disposed of because, and there is your explanation. This whole process has not followed lawful process and the standing and requirements that go with it to make this valid. This is an invalid process. This is missing, this is missing, and this is missing. And this is written, documented, and on file without the necessary things to validate it. Throw it in the trash. What does that mean? Bye-bye. Whole thing going like it never happened. You walk away. However, you can hold them accountable because they also have documents that have the seals and the signatures of the party who administered this, and they are supposed to be filed in the proper offices for public inspection. And all of those elements need to be satisfied in order for that document that supports that person in that official capacity to be valid. Otherwise, it's not. And they are operating in bad faith, not in good standing, and they can be considered to be an infiltrator. These are very serious things, my friend. But this is the power and authority that we have to regulate. To regulate. Now, does that mean that it's going to stop altogether? Of course not. Of course not. But it's not going to be overt. People are not going to be reckless and say they can just do this, because that's not going to happen when they know that, oh, well, they know. And then even undercover, depending, they still may be discovered. It all depends on what level we are willing to be duty bound to carry out our responsibilities. And I understand things have been moved around and shifted. Okay. But the internet hasn't. Anybody can Google it. Anybody can Yahoo it. Anybody can DuckDuckGo it. Bing it. Civics, a guide to government. Something of that sort. Comes right up. It's right there. So, moving forward, if we want our families, our legacy to be intact, and to enjoy the fruits of our labor, and for many generations to be able to duplicate that, then I think it behooves us to know when somebody's trying to play us. So that we can stop that right where it stands and right where it starts. All right, my friends, at this time, we're going to open up the floor. Whoever would like to comment. And I want to congratulate all of you on the line, because all of you have 2,500 points as a group. We had a group dynamic today, which I want to congratulate everybody who chimed in and who gave answers. And it's all because of a group dynamic. We came together and we all did it together. And there are many other ways in which we can contribute to coming together as a group and accomplishing something that we can look at and say, this is a good thing. This benefits us in this way. This gives us a sense of accomplishment that, hey, we can take on anything and we can do it. We just did it here tonight. So I want to congratulate everybody. I want to say you give yourself an applause, a pat on the back, and take a bow, because we all did it together, and it wouldn't have happened if it were not for all of us. So everybody, that's right. Yes, indeed. We can do anything that we put our minds, our hearts, and our souls to. We can accomplish anything. We just did it tonight. So everybody under the sound of my voice, 2,500 bonus points. You already got it toward our next Flipside Friday, and that's just from us. Okay. If you got our notification, you also have chances to get other bonus points. We put them there. So there's so much going on here. You know, we still got our topics, but we also want to make sure that you understand that as a group and as individuals, we all make a difference. We all accomplish things. All of us have the capacity to do it. And together, we can actually accomplish it. So that being said, everybody, we're going to open up the floor now. Everybody, you are unmuted, so unless you put your phone on mute, you have the floor.
Permission to speak?
You got it.
Okay, you touched on so many different things, but I don't want to close your show by talking on all of them. I know Heinz is what ketchup tastes like.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have one that does not have the high fructose corn syrup. Beyond that, in the addressing of a letter, and now I'm more serious. In the addressing of a letter, if I put the latitude and the longitude on the face of the letter will never get to me or get to the individual. But if I should I put also known as and put that street information along with the zip code, and should I put the square brackets around the zip code that supposedly make it invisible?
Okay, well, let me answer that this way. Anyone can do whatever works best for them. But let me give just some clarity here. When you're dealing with the land of make-believe, as we've come to term it here, your pass through the land of make-believe is a temporary, once again, residential or residence address, something that's clearly made up, because it does not mirror location, latitude, longitude. Now, what can be done, and I have seen this done before, is the latitude and the longitude is a superior on the envelope where it's going to. So at the top line, I have seen where people have done latitude, longitude. They've also done natural area codes. Top line. Directly beneath that, they have addressed to the individual or to the place where it's going, its address, city, state, zip. Or they have done it both for the return address as well as to the addressee. Same format. And the reason they have placed the location at the top is because that is the superior position, because everything stacks downward. You read from the top to the bottom. So what you come at the very top of the section is what the section falls under. That makes sense?
It makes sense. And I'm trying to visualize what you're saying, how I'm going to address my letters from here on out, or tell someone to address a letter to me. That's what I'm getting at. I'm trying to visualize it.
Mm-hmm. I get it. I get it.
Okay, what about the square brackets around the zip code?
Well, square brackets have been used for what you said. It basically captures the zip code so that to someone who knows what that is, they realize that the zip code is only there for reference. Only for reference. Not there for being literal. Like, okay, literally, yeah, this applies to this. It's like, oh, this is only here just because you guys need to see it. But let me show you that this is in brackets. It's already been captured. So that means basically it's just a reference point. It's not literal.
Okay. Now, the other thing, you asked about the family dynamic at a party, but you also mentioned George Floyd, and there was a lot of people standing around,
Yes.
and a lot of people that were shouting at the public servants. Okay, and there was a Hawaiian-looking public servant standing in between and trying to block out and keep people away. So I understand. I understand you don't want to go out on a limb, but to your question, will that family stand down and start to hope and pray that their family member survives? I think they will hope and pray. I don't see them taking any physical action to protect their family member, because unfortunately, when things are done to police and it comes into their court system, okay, deference is always given to the cops, and so therefore, anyone that took up arms or made them stop doing something are always held to account.
And you are right. Whenever anybody takes some type of action and they go into that court system, they are usually reprimanded, given a penalty, some type of punishment, charged, indicted, incarcerated for acting honorably to protect the life and the property and the freedoms of someone else. Ultimate act of sacrifice. However, let's go back and let's shore this up. When we go into those systems with no, let's just say, authoritative power, when we go in there hoping and praying, but we have nothing that makes these people back up, do a double or a triple take, and start stammering and having to take a recess because they just got to get off the bench. When we aren't coming in with that and giving notice before we get there that we're coming with that, that's when we have the experience that you, my friend, had talked. That's when that happens. So as I said before, we have authority, we have the power. It's in document form. It's in paper. It's on paper. We have access to it. Those are the things that we carry. Those are the things that we use to make sure that we regulate the checks and the balances. In other words, let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, I'll leg it after this. Someone's working at a job and their personnel file with all of their activities, all of their, let's say, accomplishments and, achievements, as well as their demerits, their, hostilities, their rule breaking, as well as them being late to work or, not showing up, is all in that personnel record. And, the supervisor is very, knowledgeable about it. And he also has a copy. And he sits that person down and he says, hey, listen, I want to talk to you because, we noticed that, this, that, and the third. And they begin to raise up and kind of get hostile. And I say, well, sit back down. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. You see this? On this date right here, you had a confrontation with a customer. On this date right here, you had a confrontation with your department supervisor. See right here? See these 3 days? You were over 30 minutes late coming to work on each day. See these right here? These are 5 days that you didn't show up. You didn't call, you didn't reach out, you just didn't show up. And once you have something like that, or in that scenario, what happens? That employee now stands down because they know that the penalties can be applied to each and every one of these things. Why? Because of the contract you signed when you worked there. It said, these are the rules. You understand them. You understand that if you don't follow them, there are penalties. There are demerits, demotions, and ultimately being terminated. That could be the result of this. It's a point of leverage. When people see this, that we have it in hand, and it says that they must behave in good conduct, be in good standing, and in good behavior, and that they must protect and cause no harm. And that's under seal, with the signature of the person who administered that document to them and a signature of the person who agreed to that covenant. And to the penalties and punishments that go with it if they do not fulfill these obligations.
Great show.
Upcoming shows. Oh, yes, go ahead, Victoria.
No, great show. Great show, I must say.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Quite welcome.
All right.
Yeah, I got a comment. Greetings. Can I be heard?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
With all the things that's going on, I know there's a sheriff's manual, but is there an officer for policy officers also?
Yes, there are.
Okay, so if we really wanted to know their obligation and their responsibilities and things that aren't compliant, is it written in those books?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And I don't know, you may or may not know this, but when there's hearings for some of these atrocities that take place as far as, excessive force and all of these things, and then they have these trials in reference to those policy officers, even though everybody wouldn't be exactly cross-examined. I mean, people that feel a certain way and they have information about these incidents before they make the verdict. Would the public have a right to speak even though they're not on the they're not one of the jurors?
Yes, they do. The public does have a right. Well, no, let me back that up. The people who have witnessed what the public officials have done may either be themselves public officials or may be from the private sector. All have a right to speak and with cause basically demand that those individuals be punished for violating their covenant to the people who hired them and who put that trust into them to carry out their obligations and duties under that covenant that is sealed and signed. There's no getting around that. Those are covenants. There ain't no getting around that.
So basically, what you're kind of speaking to is because of the lack of knowledge in these situations, these mock trials can go any way they choose to. Because in certain situations, these lawyers, which I love to call agents, basically work for that same banking system. So though you think they work for you, they're basically being compliant to the decisions and the strategies of the courts.
They are. In their own made-up environment. Just like when we used to play, when we were younger, and we used to play hide and go seek. And as long as you got to base before somebody who was looking for you could touch you, then you were okay. But base did not shield you from your mother and father who said, have your butt on this porch when the street lights come in. Base didn't matter then because mama and daddy said, you gonna be here. And if you ain't here and you make me come out looking for you, my belt is in my hand. Touch base all you want to. That's make believe. Here comes the real deal. That's what we have. That's what we have.
That's an eloquent demonstration. Yes, indeed. Hey, you're gonna make it to base and not get free, not get tagged. But you know, if them street lights come on and you ain't on the porch, you sure enough gonna get tagged.
Oh yeah, base don't matter then.
You're gonna get an adjustment.
You're gonna get the real deal. They're gonna show you how real deal with make believe.
May I offer something that Brother Edwards just had me think about lawyers and attorneys? They are indeed, even if you're paying them, they are indeed officers of the court. They're officers of the court. And so as officers of the court, even though you're paying them, they have a greater allegiance to the court and the so-called bar association, the club that they all belong to. Okay? And as far as the policy enforcers, I think it came out about 3 or 4 years ago that they have no duty. They have no obligation to the public to protect the public. They're out there to protect things, property, not protect the public. They can see something happen to you in the street and ignore you from what I got from that. But I could be mistaken. And please correct me if I am. I yield.
Well, I'll say this. Every single policy enforcer has an oath, let's call them a covenant, on record, where they swore in before they took the job. Because they cannot do any kind of work or enforce anything until they swear in. Once they swear in, that becomes official. All of those obligations, rights, and duties that they have and they carry kick in on that particular covenant. That covenant is the strongest because it's the first one. And that lays the foundation for them. They're supposed to know it. If they try to use anything else in violation of that, their foundation cracks. It's over. So they can play that game all they want to, and they have been, because we just haven't had this. We haven't known. Why? Because people wanted us to, quote unquote, just believe. You just gotta believe. Based on what? Exactly.
Well, I'm actually talking about a judicial decision that came out a few years ago about a policy enforcer's obligation to the public, and they have no obligation according to the judiciary.
Okay. Let me speak to that real quick.
Thanks.
Whenever the court makes a decision, what are we looking for on that document where that decision has been made? What are we looking for? What are we searching for to be there?
The seal and the court clerk's signature.
There we go.
Which authenticates it.
That's right. If those things do not appear, then that decision has no standing. The only standing it has is what you give to it. But at law, the challenge flag can be thrown down just like we do in the football games, in the basketball, even baseball now. It can be challenged on that basis. Where is that? You all are a body that must be compliant with law, are you not? Yes. Okay. Then why are you not complying with this law? You mean to tell me this thing that contains no evidence that has gone through process, no evidence of being authenticated, and no evidence that someone has actually signed off on this is authentic? This is valid? No, this is lawless. This is garbage. That can be abated. And it doesn't take the people that were involved in it to abate it. Somebody from the outside, private sector, or it could be another public official, can see that this thing doesn't follow process. Like I said, we haven't been told this stuff. So therefore, the unruly become more and more purposeful and intentional with being that way, simply because they have hidden all the switches and the belts. There's nothing to punish them with because they hid them. In a manner of speaking. Just like the children would do. Take the belts and hide them between the mattress and the box spring. Break all the switches that could be made out of the branches off of the bushes and throw them in the trash can for the garbage man to come get. Well, Can't whoop me now. Hmm. That's what's going on. Well,
It
All right,
happened in the
last I
20s.
want to go ahead, brother Edward.
I was just gonna say that might happen in the 20s, but it damn sure ain't happening in the 70s, 80s, and 90s because I was there.
Me too. And there was a bush right across the street.
Oh man, was it? And if you brought back a punk ass switch, boy, Mama go to the closet and get that one that she had hanging from the coat rack, hanging, you know, hanging from the coat rack. The one that goes around corners. You can run if you want on that situation. But another thing is it says in the Constitution a lot of things, and that's even a document. The Bill of Rights, all of them old documents, just like what Brother Bay says about the treaties. We need to go back and reevaluate everything. And prime example, you can even consider this. You know, in the mid 1400s, Christopher Columbus was sailing across the waters, getting lost. No GPS, no Moorish navigation. You know, so he's getting lost, drowning at sea. But somehow he always wound up back, I think, 2 times. But anyway, the reality is this: even back then, they had insurance on those conveyances, on them ships. Everybody that works for the system, just like how you have to have insurance on your car, insurance on your house, insurance on your body in order to get good health insurance, in order to get well taken care of in this system. But anyway, all of those same individuals have bonds. If an individual no longer has a bond, they can no longer work in that jurisdiction.
It's true.
So even that's something to consider. That's all I wanted to say. I yield.
I know you have to let the podcasters make the announcement, and Flofokuz, he got to come up and give the final word. But I want everyone to remember the name Sean Grayson. Sean Grayson. See, because he's been out of the news, and I'm so afraid that Sean Grayson, if we stop looking, he's going to get away with shooting our sister in her effing face and killing her if we stop looking. Because I think the system is trying to move to protect him. And I yield.
On the next podcast, we'll touch on that. The next one on Monday. But as it stands right now, yes, we are at the time. Tonight, immediately following this podcast, will be Brother Edward that you heard on the line, everybody. The time will be done. Please tune back in 8 p.m. sharp. He will be on and always has very good information. So you won't want to miss that. 7 a.m. tomorrow is the prayer call with Miss Carol. 7 a.m. Everybody tune in, get your day started in a good way. 12 noon, you got Actualize It with Your Highness. 2 p.m., you got Consequence or Benefits with AC. 4 p.m., Soul Liberators with Mama Mahassan. 6 p.m., we have Brother Forrest Nance with Grown Folk Talking and his special guest. And then at 8 p.m., we have Brother Tony Moore closing out our day for tomorrow. And everybody, with that being said, I'm now going to turn it over to my man, Flofokuz. Brother, you got the last word. Take us out of here so Brother Ed can do his show.
Oh my goodness, I can go on for a whole nother hour, but what I'll say is, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for showing up. I just want to say to everyone, remember, you guys, the power is yours in the name of in the word of Captain America. No, Captain Planet. Okay, so just remember, the power is yours. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, remember, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So enjoy yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, good night, everybody.
Glad everybody enjoyed them 2,500 points in your accounts, everyone.
Oh, you didn't give out the number.
You all got it. You all got it. 2,500. You all got the points.